Hey everyone, Hybrid Toy Reviews here, and today I want to take a look at the Star Wars The Black Series Mandalorian as he appeared on Glavis Ringworld in the beginning of his episode of the Book of Boba Fett. A super awesome looking figure. Always love getting a new Mando in the collection, but this is way cooler than just a new Mando. This is a newly tooled Mando head to toe. They were absolutely proud of this when they were announcing it. So let's go ahead and get into the review, see if this is a worthy replacement to the current Mando we have on the shelf. So far, initial impression looking at the box, he looks pretty good. So here's Mando out of the box, and as always, we're going to start by taking a look at his accessories. So he comes, we'll start with the coolest new one, or the one that we haven't seen a version of before. He comes with his vibro knife. It is painted really nice, has a nice silver to the blade, a lot of sculpted texture on the blade. It's very sci-fi looking. The handle is in kind of like a gunmetal, dark gray, almost black, has a little bit of line work sculpted in there. He features a working boot holster. It just slips right into his right boot at the top there and is securely held. That's probably where you should keep it because his hands are sculpted to hold, the blasters and the darksaber and stuff. So he can't really, it doesn't stay very securely. So honestly, that's probably going to be a keep in the boot weapon. The only time I think we've seen a boot knife in the line before is on Cara Dune, and it was like the same story. She just could not hold it. So I think that one, personally, I think mine got even lost, or it might be in the parts bin. But yeah, it's nice to see them adding it. I think without a swappable hand that's specially sculpted to hold it, though, is a bit useless. I'm sorry. So he comes with his signature pistol, looking very cool. I'm not 100% sure if this is totally new or if it's just a reuse. It could be a reuse, and that would be acceptable. Although I'm seeing some little bit of wood texture on the grip, which makes me think that it's actually at least a retool, because I don't recall that on any of the others. But it looks very, very nice. Very nice sculpt work going on here. Again, kind of like a darker gunmetal gray for the body of it, and the grip is painted in a nice, not super light, but not super dark brown, a nice middle brown. So I really like this accessory. He features a working hip holster. This time, it no longer features the strap that goes over the blaster. It just pushes in. I know a lot of people complain about the strap, and they're like, it never pegs in. I've never had a blaster holster strap not peg in. I think you can't just go and ham fist your figures. I think you have to kind of just work it, caress it, make it work. But anyway, no more straps, so I guess no more arguments there. So we'll set his pistol off to the side. He comes with the darksaber. Now this one is mostly reuse. The blade looks very nice. It's in a nice white plastic with the black edges painted on, and it just looks very good. It unpegs like so many other lightsaber blades do, and I'll half peg it in. Just take a look at the hilt. The hilt here is sculpted very nicely. It has a lot of line work going on and around the guard, and it looks very much like the live-action darksaber hilt. However, if you look up at the top there's actually a ring sculpted on it. It's there on the filming prop, and they just never put it on the action figure accessory. But now it's there, so what you can do is, on his left hip, behind his hip grenades, there's actually a little ring there for darksaber hilt storage. I think that is super cool. I like how he kind of carries it kind of behind him a little bit, lets the cape kind of hide it. Obviously, that is a high attention item if you know what you're looking for. So I really like that we finally have some weapon storage for the darksaber. The darksaber up until now has just been that accessory that either you carry or you put in the parts bin. So I'm glad that he has a hip storage for that. And then we have Din's jetpack. I believe this to also be a brand new sculpt, although maybe it's not. I don't have my other one on hand right here to compare with, but it looks very nice. It's sculpted very well. A lot of nice details punched in on it. Very nice, kind of like a darker silver color, but very light catching, very metallic. And it features the 3-peg system on the back we're familiar with. And then the jetpack blast holes actually have holes in them to use those Boba Fett flight effects from that Return of the Jedi 40th, deluxe. Hasbro, you gotta start throwing those in. You just gotta start doing it. If you don't army build Boba Fett, odds are you have one of those blast effects in your collection, and we have 10 characters that need them now. Just start throwing them in, or stop making the jetpacks hollow. This is just a tease. So, anyway, just to show you him wearing it, you spin around back, and you see there's actually the center hole and the 2 side holes. and you just peg it in. Like so. And it's very secure and nicely held, and it just works very well. Now, something else worth noting on this whole figure here. Look at this cape! They finally gave us a soft goods Mando cape. So just to show you what we've been working with before, this is the Mando out of the Ahsoka Grogu Amazon 3-pack here. And he came with this big, heavy rubber cape that sucks. And everyone bitched about it for years and years. And Hasbro never cared to do anything about it. You had the choice. You could either have him wear the heavy rubber cape or the jetpack. Even though in universe, what happens is Din wears his jetpack with his cape kind of draped over the side, over to the side like so. In that kind of effect, you either need to have a very special sculpted rubber cape, which would have been an acceptable answer, or a soft goods cape, which is my preferred answer, because I'm going to be 100%. Hasbro always hits with the soft goods. I know there's some people that are plastic supremacists. Soft goods hit. Hasbro does good when they do some soft goods. So, I'm just absolutely titillated that we have a soft goods Mando cape in the line, finally. It takes a little bit of working to make it lay super nice with the jetpack. Something that I've actually taken to doing is I will lay the cape kind of where I want it, and I don't really care if the fabric covers the jetpack holes. I'll just peg in the jetpack through the fabric into the holes, and then it kind of holds some of that cape down, just kind of makes it lay a little bit nicer, and then you just kind of fold, you know, the top wherever you need it to be. So you just got to work it. You just got to make it lay how you want it to lay, but at the end you have a pretty good result, like so, and I'm pretty satisfied with that. I'm going to take it off just to lighten the bulk of the figure for the rest of the review. So, looking at the figure, he looks stunning. The paint here has been done oh so well, and from head to toe, as best as I can tell on every single possible piece, this is a brand new sculpt. So our first version of the Mandalorian, I have misplaced my copy. We've gotten so many Din Djarin's, but it is this body in the first version of our silver, you know, Mando. It came out in the very first wave of Galaxy packaging, way back in like 2019. And it was good for the time. And you know what? It's actually held up. I can pose this figure, and I can have a good time, and I can make him do just about anything I want. I never really had any huge frustrations with the figure. But since 2019, 2020, when it came out, Hasbro has just made a few upgrades to their standardized articulation and things that you would just kind of wish were around, and they've gone and they've added them to this, and somehow they've made that already pretty good figure pretty amazing. I gotta say, this is a very high-ranking figure for me at this point. I know some people, Skywalker Hendricks especially, is saying that like this is potentially his most very favorite Black Series figure ever. And I could see where you're coming from. It has some amazing paint details going on. A lot of the joints are very well hidden. They've done away with a lot of the double joints and such. Everything just looks seamless. I mean, if you didn't tell me this was a Hasbro figure at first glance, other than the elbows, you could pretty much have me convinced that it was some sort of import figure that I just wasn't familiar with. It just looks that good. The sculpt is so sharp, and just, this has to be the definitive Mandalorian, right? God, he's got his, just the helmet is so much better than what we had before. An issue with a lot of the older ones is he has like a blank face underneath the helmet, and so like the helmet would get glued on and misshapen a little bit, not too bad. This helmet here does have a blank head underneath, but it is just much thicker plastic for the helmet, so it actually like holds its shape a lot better, and it just looks very, very good. So much gloss going on here. I actually had to turn down my lighting a little bit for this review. I'll turn on the light that I like to have on. This is a light that goes up above my camera, and you see when I put it on, there's actually just so much glare coming back from the silver, and especially like on the black of the visor. I just don't like the look of it. I'll have that light on for most reviews, but I think on this review it actually looks better to tone it down just a touch. So, but it man, it's just such a good figure. Looking around back, he's got the tattering on the bottom hem of the cape, and it just lays so nice. One of the big changes they've done is the shoulder pads are no longer glued to the bicep. They're like the Stormtrooper and the new Clone Trooper body, where they're on a ring on that peg going through. So the shoulder is actually totally separate. You can raise the arms up, and the higher they go, just the shoulder pad will just go further towards the wrist. So that is very well done. I really like that. I will say, like so many of these other figures, man, if you have them posed up something like that, for a real long time, bring the arms down, see those shoulder pads, they're floating. Now they're coming back down because it was very short term. And of course, if you just push it back down, it'll pretty well stay. But for long term hands over the head posing, it might not be ideal, but it gives you a lot more range than you had with prior options. They've gone ahead and they've done single jointed knees that have a swivel. That's a very modern Black Series thing. The knee pad, because he only has the one true knee pad, is just strapped on around there. It's not glued on, so that's really cool. He features gauntlet swivel now. Just some very modern punch-ins. His chest armor is actually an overlay, and then so is the abdomen armor that the belt is just permanently fused to. So he's got a lot of overlay work going on, and he is just a feat of engineering. So let's run through some articulation to see how a lot of this stuff works. He features a double ball neck, which allows him to look very far back, really far forward. Got some side to side, and of course a ton of pivot. He can raise his arms basically straight up. That is insane. As mentioned, of course, that will leave the shoulder pads floating as they work their way down. You can get a 360 at the shoulder, and the shoulder pads can rotate around with. You just have to kind of work it a little bit. He features butterfly joints with insane range. Single jointed elbows, they can go to 90 and rotate, with gauntlet swivel at the elbow, which is sweet. Not a point of articulation I was ever like, I need that, but it's nice that it's there. 360 at the wrist, with the left one hinging in and out, the right one hinging up and down, so he didn't quite get the ball joint treatment that Hera and Merrick have gotten. I don't know if that's going to be every figure or just some, but Mando missed it. Features a mid-torso ball joint, which when you shift the overlays allows them to look that far, crunch that far forward, that far back. That's a touch limited, but again, overlays. He has a ton of side-to-side and rotation. His legs can kick basically out to a straight splits, although that does kind of lift up the torso, the lower abdomen overlay, because of these hip plates. He has an upper thigh rotation, which is kind of redundant because he has the single jointed knee that rotates. I don't really like the thigh joints because it breaks up the sculpt, and honestly, the single jointed knee that swivels replaces it anyway. So we have that swivel there, and the feet can point straight down, forward, and there's a forward-facing pin for rocker, allowing you to get him in some pretty decently wide stances with both feet flat on the ground. And just to do a little bit of size comparison, here he is next to one of the various Grogus we've gotten in the line, and of course he towers over him as you would expect. Here he is next to the prior Mando again, and they're pretty much the same size. That's what you would want. Here he is next to Boba Fett. They've called this throne room Boba Fett from the Book of Boba Fett. Of course, we really know it better as the Mando Season 2 Boba Fett. And then, taking that aside, here he is next to the Book of Boba Fett Cobb Vanth, one of my favorite figures of this year. And obviously, these guys would have made the perfect dream team to take on the Pikes if nasty old Cad Bane hadn't showed up. All in all, I'm really digging this guy and how he scales and how he looks. Let's go ahead and jump into the wrap-up. So at the end of the day, what do I think of the new Book of Boba Fett Mandalorian? I love this figure. I have nothing negative to say about it whatsoever, and that is an absolute feat. I try not to be a pillar of negativity, but so many times you'll get a figure and it's pretty good, but there's always just that one thing that you're like, why'd they do that? But with this figure, it is genuinely flawless. There's basically nothing I would change. It is perfectly painted. The articulation is on point. This is the definitive Beskar armor Din Djarin, at least as of currently, because it looks like he has some different blasters and jetpack as of the end of Season 3. But if you do not have a Mandalorian yet, and you're like, I'm going to pick up a Mandalorian for my collection, don't even look at the alternatives. This is the one. This is the Black Series Mando to add to your shelf. And quite honestly, if you have any of the other Mandalorians, I still honestly would say pick this one up. Stick them somewhere else in the collection. Make this the one that you have at the front of the shelf. The other ones that you have, sell them or put them to the back of the shelves or whatever you got to do. This one is the one that will make you the happiest you could be when it comes to owning a action figure of Din Djarin. This is just absolutely spot on. There's nothing to gripe about. It is flawless. I adore it. And I have to more than recommend. I have to almost insist that you go track it down for your collection. So that's where I'm at. Thanks for watching. It means a lot that you did. If you enjoyed, you should leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that end of video stuff. I'm going to go work on something else for now. So until next time, may the Force be with each and every one of you. I'll see you then. Bye.